Hey, third graders, welcome back. I hope everyone had a relaxing and fun spring break. I know it was very short lived, but I'm excited to get to some new math lessons for everyone. All right, so let's get started. Today we're going to be playing around with some shapes, and I actually found a cool website online that we're going to be able to try today that we'll be able to use to explore what geoboards are. This is kind of an activity that a lot of teachers really like to do with their students at school. It actually involves the rubber bands that you can kind of take and stretch. So if we were actually in a classroom, we'd be giving you these rubber bands of different colors and everything. And what you'd do is you'd put them on the pegs and see if you can make different shapes. Like right here, you can see this is square. If I stretch it more, it's going to be a rectangle. If I wanted to make a triangle, three sides, three vertices. If I wanted to try and make a shape like a trapezoid or something, I'd really have to think about how I'd maneuver my hands to make one of those, but that's what kind of a geoboard is for. A geoboard has kind of points that stick out, and you're able to go ahead and manipulate a rubber band into any kind of shape you want. So what you're going to be able to do is try what a virtual geoboard. And so on the virtual geoboard, you're going to be getting rubber bands, but the rubber bands will actually stretch kind of virtually on the geoboard. So it's pretty cool, and we're going to be able to try it out in just a second. First thing Mr. G wanted to really kind of review is the kind of idea of shapes with different sides and how many vertices they have. So one thing that you might have gone over with your teacher in class before school closed is that when you look at a shape, you'll have different sides to the shape. So usually sides will have a point that goes off in a line. So for example, if you have a square, right? A square has four sides because four lines are all around the square. And a square also has four vertices. A lot of people like to call them corners, but the mathematical term you can use is a vertex or vertices when we have more than one. So if you look at the square right over here, you'll see that this square has four sides and four vertices. We're going to look at some other shapes and see how many sides and vertices they also have. So here's kind of a list of shapes. As you can see, a triangle has three sides with three vertices. A pentagon has five and five. Hexagon, six and six. You can kind of see a pattern going around here, and I hope that you all saw that. Most notably, that a circle has zero sides and zero vertices. It's our 0, 0 shape. So keeping this in mind, we're going to be trying to look for how we can make shapes of different sizes and seeing how big of a shape we can make. And you might be wondering, Mr. G, what do you mean how big of a shape are we going to make? We're not really in front of you. How are we going to measure it? Well, Mr. G's thinking about our last lesson that we did on perimeter. And all I'd want you to do was kind of just see if you can figure out the perimeter of the shape by counting the sides of it and how many units long it is. So you know how we did area and perimeter from before, and area was the inside of a shape and perimeter is the outside? We're going to be looking for what kind of shapes we can make with different kind of challenges I'm going to give you on some challenge cards, and to see what's the biggest perimeter of a shape that you can make that fits the challenge. So if you're a little confused now, don't worry, it'll all make sense once Mr. G actually shows you the activity. It's actually pretty fun. I was kind of going in my free time just making some different shapes and seeing what other kind of shapes I could make. All right, everyone. So Mr. G is going to kind of show everyone how to do this fun geoboard activity that we're going to be going over in a second. So just like before in the video, we talked about a square. And remember, square has four sides and four vertices or vertices. And over here, you can see kind of a table of different kinds of shapes with their different vertices. So we have triangle all the way to a circle again. Before we get into the activity, I just want to quickly go over what we consider a shape and what we consider not shapes. If you look at this side, these three are shapes. So even though they're kind of funky looking, you have some trapezoids, some very unique shapes over here. The one thing that you will note is that the shapes, none of the sides touch each other. These are not shapes because none of the sides, these are not shapes because the sides in some cases do touch each other or some of the lines cross. So we're gonna call a shape any kind of polygon that is closed, it's not open, and none of the sides touch and none of the sides cross each other. So as long as none of the sides touch and cross and you make a completed shape that's closed off, you're good to go. So shapes and not shapes, these will not count in terms of this assignment. So The instructions are to click here to go to the website. You can click this picture or click this link right here and go to the GeoBoard site. And you'll get a page that looks like this. And what you're going to do with this page is you're going to go ahead and you can pick any kind of rubber band color you would like. She's going to choose my favorite color, blue, over here, and I'm going to click it. And after that, you can start clicking the pegs to make a different shape. Sorry, click and drag it just like you were doing it in real life. And now you can kind of drag the pegs anywhere you want to kind of make different shapes. For example, if Mr. G wanted to make a triangle, I could take that side here and then move this here, and I'd have my triangle. And I'll fill it in right here. So this is my triangle. I'm gonna go back to my assignment here. And Mr. G said, click a rubber band to start making shapes on your GeoBoard. Make a triangle, rectangle, trapezoid, and a pentagon, just for practice. So next one, I'm gonna try and make this a square. Let's go with red. So if I'm gonna make a square, I'm gonna click the red. Go up here, it'll change the color of all my shapes actually. And then I can try and make a square. So I'll connect this one here, and just like a rubber band, connect that one there. Awesome, let's fill that one. This is my square. And I don't know, let's choose a different color now. Make that one blue again, red. Let's go ahead and try and make a pentagon. So this one might be tricky. Let's go ahead and go with purple. And I'll start here and think about how I can make my pentagon shape. So this is, it'll start me off with 2. Go to 3, 4, maybe I can move this one somewhere. That won't be it. That's not it. I don't know. You're gonna have to go ahead and try and play around and see how you can make different shapes on your GeoBoard. So when you're all done with the kind of shapes you're doing for practice, I don't know, you might make some funky shapes. I'm just gonna go ahead and play around. Remember, this would not be a shape because the lines right here cross, but if I open it up, kind of like this, now it's a shape. This is a shape. This is not a shape because this line isn't going anywhere, it's not closed off. This would not be a shape because these ones touch. And this is definitely not a shape because this crosses right here. So go ahead and play around with your GeoBoard. Remember, just click something like a rubber band, drag it to a new spot to make some different shapes. If you don't want the shape you're doing right now, just go ahead and delete it. Delete and delete, have a blank board. So you'll see Mr. G has 1, 2, 3, and 4 different challenges for you to try on your GeoBoard. So the first one says, follow the instruction and use the GeoBoard site to make a shape on your GeoBoard with the longest possible perimeter, and the shape can have up to 6 vertices. So it's the biggest shape you can make on here for perimeter wise, and the shape has up to 6 vertices. So I'm going to use my GeoBoard and I'm going to try to make a shape with the largest perimeter, and it can have up to 6 sides. So if it has more than 6 sides, it is not going to be a shape I can use. So look at this one right here. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sides. So this wouldn't count. So I need to try and think of a shape that has 6 sides or less that I can make with the biggest perimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and let's go ahead and move this one out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still too many. How about this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would be 6. Now I can count the perimeter and see how many pegs I use. So this is a way you can go ahead and see and if you can complete challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 is make a GeoBoard shape with the longest perimeter, and the shape can only have right angles. So a right angle, I have a handy dandy picture to show you. A right angle, remember, is an angle kind of like on a square where it's going to equal 90 degrees. It comes to a line where it's straight up and straight to the side. An acute angle, you're going to see this in a later challenge, is an angle that is less than a right angle. So do you see how it's kind of like a triangle shape right here? Skinnier, a shorter angle. This is an acute angle. A right angle is going to be a 90-degree angle where you can kind of make the square in the corner right here. So Now I'm going to go back to my geoboard and I'm going to try and make a shape that has only right angles with the longest perimeter. Let's see. So easy one I could do is a bam. Square has all right angles. I can make a rectangle has all right angles. But I'm trying to make a shape with the biggest perimeter. So you're gonna have to play around with that. I'm not gonna give you the answer. All right, the next one is the shape cannot have any acute angles. So you have to have angles that are bigger than a right angle or with right angles. And the last one is the shape can only be on half the geoboard. So play around with these 4 ideas. And when you feel like you have an answer, you feel like you made the biggest shape, Mr. G is gonna show you how you can make it. So for example, say I made a shape and I really liked how this one was. I felt like this one had the biggest perimeter. And so this is going to be my final shape. I'll even color it in for you. So you might be wondering, okay, Mr. G, but how can I show my work on the geoboard on my lesson for my teacher to see? Well, this is what you're going to do. I put some instructions right here. I'm going to say click insert, then click line, then click polyline, and connect the dots until you make your shape. So watch Mr. G. Again, this was my shape. I'm going to go here. I'm going to click insert. I'm going to click line. Then I'm going to move my mouse over, go to the second from the bottom one called polyline. Click. Now what polyline is going to let me do, it's going to let me like kind of connect the dots. So looking back at my shape, I see I started here and I made a shape like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5 sides, sorry. I'm going to start here. And then I think I connected it here. And then, oh, let me go back. Connected it there. I'm going to connect it here. Then I think I went down here, and here, and here. Bam. So polyline, go ahead and made my shape for me, and I can even change the inside. Let's go with blue like I like. So this is going to be my shape for my answer number 1, if this was my shape. It has a shape with up to 6 vertices, so no more than 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has 5 sides. And I'm going to say maybe this is my biggest perimeter I found. Go to the next one and make a shape with only right angles and see if you can make the biggest shape there. So I hope everyone has some fun playing around with the geoboard activities. These 4 challenges took me a while to figure out the biggest shape I can make with all these different kind of constraints with them. So I really hope you have fun with this activity. All right, so that's going to be all for today, 3rd graders. I really hope you have fun with this geoboard activity. I really encourage you to really use your brain and try and see how many different combinations and possibilities you can make. Even if you figured it out one way, see how many different ways you can figure it out. Really challenge your brain and stretch your imagination of how to make shapes to kind of play with this activity. So until next time, see you later.